Ceruto, try it again. Fans on the feet, 6,000 in attendance. The payoff is flied into right field, going back at the warning track, at the wall. It's gone! Go ahead, 3-run home run for the senior. Peter Ceruto has given the Indiana Hoosiers the lead.
Welcome to Talking Hoosier Baseball. We are recording this on Wednesday, February 28th, 2024. I'm Carl James, joined by Chris Feeney and Cassidy Palmer. The number 20 Indiana Hoosiers are coming off their first true road series 3-game, and I stress 3-game, series sweep since 2007 at Florida A&M. I do not have the box scores in front of me, but I think Ty Bothwell may have gotten a save in that series as well. Might have to look it up. This time around, the Hoosiers spent the weekend in Waco, Texas, dominating the Baylor Bears. The Hoosiers jumped out to early leads in all 3 games and never relented. Devin Taylor and Morgan Colopy got 3 bombs each. Devin Taylor was named Big Ten Player of the Week for his second straight weekend of video game numbers as he brought the power to bear in Waco. Connor Foley lived up to his billing as Week 1's Big Ten Pitcher of the Week by throwing 6 scoreless innings of one-hit baseball in Saturday's win. Tuesday, that was a different matter at the Bart. Purdue Fort Wayne out of the Horizon League with a 2023 record of 13-43 came into the Bart ready to play and upset the Hoosiers by a score of 9-6 after stunning the home crowd by jumping out to an 8-0 lead in the top of the 6th inning. So first off, I'm going to hand it over to Cass. Cass, what did we learn about the Hoosiers this past weekend in Waco?
Thank you, Carl. One of the things that that stood out to me the most, at least from an offensive perspective, was plate appearances with runners in scoring position and fewer than 2 outs. The team largely did well with those, including hitting 375 in such situations on Friday, 444 on Saturday, and 400 on Sunday. You hit like that with runners in scoring position and fewer than 2 outs, you're going to put up runs. And even just the number of those situations, 8 of them, and this is just the at-bats. This doesn't count any of the walks, HBPs, sac flies, which were also fairly numerous. 8 such situations on Friday, 9 of them on Saturday, and 10 of them on Sunday. That's putting yourself in a situation to succeed, regardless of what the pitching staff is doing. Even on Tuesday, yesterday, the team also hit 400 in such situations. There were only 5 of those. And so you can see how that really does start to change things. But one of the big differences between Tuesday and the weekend, hitting with 2 outs and pitching with 2 outs. On the weekend, the team was, the pitching staff had a batting average of against in 2-out situations of 200 on Friday, 100 on Saturday. It did go up to 364 on Sunday, 4 of 11, for a total of 7 for 31 on the weekend. Against Purdue Fort Wayne, it was 6 of 16 with two outs for a 375 batting average against with two outs, including more than one home run. That is not setting up for success. I'm not going to read too much into the Purdue Fort Wayne one because it's one game where you're throwing different arms than you have at any point in the weekend. That's just how these midweeks go. Sometimes that's going to be great, and you're going to get Seti Manasseh, who throws 15 pitches to get through two completely perfect innings, or you're going to give up 9 runs to Purdue Fort Wayne. Like you're going to get a mixed bag in these. That's just the way it happens. But that was the biggest thing that stood out on the pitching side between that Tuesday Purdue Fort Wayne game and the weekend at Baylor before that. It's all still small numbers. Don't read too much into any of it, but those were the two kind of things that stood out. The hitting with runners in scoring position and fewer than two outs, and the difference in pitching with two outs.
Right. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that Chris, you ended up parking in that grass lot last night, and you got to witness the Hoosiers getting stunned by the Mastodons. Chris, what happened from the viewpoint of someone who was there in person?
Not a lot of good things. The whole game, we were just waiting. Even when they took the lead, it was like, oh, we'll come back. Oh, yeah, 3-0. We'll beat you 14-3. 5-0. I'll beat you 16-5. 8-0. It was like, okay. But then we got a couple quick ones back, and it was like 8-3. So it was like, we'll be all right. There was like 4 innings to go. How many pitchers could this team have? But it just didn't happen, man. These guys were executing on the mound. I don't know what else to tell you. People were asking me, like, what in the world? They just flat out beat us. You know, they hit 5 bombs. 2 guys had 2 home runs each. They played solid defense. I think they threw the ball away maybe once on a pickoff. Something got a little funky, but that was it. It's not like they were kicking the ball around the field. They just beat us, man. We didn't execute on the mound consistently enough. You know, Seti, sure, the 2 innings you talked about were great. Bennis to start the game, real solid. I was glad we got to see 2 out of him. And Katsky, when he comes in with the bases loaded, does his thing. The next inning, obviously, it took a turn for the worse, but I just kept waiting for the bats to come. We all did. We just were just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then maybe we got a little cocky in the 8th, I'll admit it, because as the thing started rolling, I'm like, all right, finally, here it is. We don't even have to walk this off. We'll catch them, pass them, and get 3 outs in the 9th, but then we strand the bases loaded. You know, it happens. It wasn't fun. And I do take full responsibility. 9 years of attending this stadium, I have never parked where I parked that night. And I questioned it when I did it. I'm driving by 46. I say, okay. Honestly, I was thinking maybe use the media pass. They might let me in through the other lot. I said, well, I could try that. But if it doesn't work, at that point, I'm going to have to pay whatever it was. So I was like, I'll go park in the grass. But I knew it was a bad move at the time. Never question your gut, folks. If you know you're doing something against the baseball gods, just don't do it. Honestly, I can't say it wasn't in my mind as I was going down the thing. I did. I said, I don't think we're going to lose. I just thought something funky might happen. God forbid, something gets hurt or something bad would happen. We lose. It was crazy. To give credit to the fans that stuck it out. You know, people were into it there in the 8th with the big rally. And really, to the fans, Purdue Fort Wayne, you know, they were into it. The team was really into it. I mean, that dugout was humming, like from the beginning of the game on. I give them credit. Not that we were into it too, but I don't know. I didn't expect it from them right from the start like that. I think they really wanted to beat us. And they did. And you got to tip your cap and you just say, you know, there isn't a GOAT. There isn't, not the greatest of all time, meaning in my world, GOAT was the guy who blew it. And it's changed now, younger generations. But there wasn't a Buckner. There wasn't a this guy's fault, that guy's fault. They just beat us straight up. It's like, what is it? Teddy KGB? Pay the man his money.
Yep. So, okay, so that takes care of that. But overall, still a 3-1 week. And honestly, a week ago, I wouldn't have had a problem with a 3-1 week.
Yep.
And it's all relatively weak competition. It's just interesting that you kind of, by looking at it, you kind of felt that Purdue Fort Wayne was the superior team to Baylor, but
Yeah.
They would crush Baylor. They would
Yeah.
crush Baylor. You crazy?
yeah, Baylor
And
just that was and again, to some degree, I had some of that fear was just that you know, and a lot of that is just how do these teams do out of the transfer portal and with recruiting, and from what we've seen so far, Baylor hasn't done that well. So they've got a new coach. They're trying to turn things around as a program. It's just kind of sad for a program that's been to Omaha 3 times to struggle, specifically at the plate, as much as they have.
Mhm.
Although, tip the cap, they did actually swing the bat a little bit better on Sunday. So,
Yeah.
um,
They did lose one of their leaders right there in the beginning on Friday.
Yeah, they
I think
did.
that took some wind out of their sails too.
mhm.
Not that I
Yeah.
knew he was one of their big leaders, but from watching the games, we learned that he was.
Yes.
A big emotional guy in the dugout, a big leader in the clubhouse,
Yeah.
and never get hurt like that. So I get that, especially Friday night, with that affecting them. But yeah, like you said, they just didn't have the talent out there. But then again, I would have thought they had a better team than the Mastodons, and those Mastodons, they were excellent. They were excellent.
Yep.
They really, really were.
Yep. And it's always difficult to get that series sweep, particularly on the road, as evidenced by the we haven't had a non-conference sweep like that since 2007.
3-game sweep though.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. A sweep like that, a comparable.
Everyone
sweep.
seems to gloss over that 2-game sweep.
Yes.
Forgetting it, Paul. They keep forgetting
Yes.
the 2-game sweep.
Yes, but in relation to a sweep like the one we just had, which is a 3-game sweep.
Jameis Winston didn't forget.
Yeah. But it is at least as difficult to then get that functional 4-game week sweep. Particularly when this is kind of a textbook trap game. Coming off of weaker competition with the emotional side of successfully sweeping them, going into a weekend where it's 2 ranked opponents and a potentially solid third team, that Purdue Fort Wayne definitely falls into the trap game territory here. And honestly, I'd rather see this now, let the team experience it, get a little humbled by it in week 2, get their heads right, and move forward. That's what we're looking for here.
And overall, you look at Indiana's offense was a little weak, particularly in those first 4 innings.
Yeah.
But overall for the game, it wasn't horrible.
No.
6 runs. They had plenty. I think just about everybody got a hit.
Yeah.
It just didn't all tally up to winning. But
Right.
the offense in the end did you'd like to have been a little bit more consistent, but it wasn't awful.
It was not bad.
I watched the first 4 innings, rewatched the first 4 innings in detail. I didn't really have a problem with the plate approaches.
No.
I think Coach was right, but I really more credit Purdue Fort Wayne's starter in that, Sean Casper, for he did a really good job of throwing. He kept his fastballs mostly out of the zone to show them the speed, and then pounded the zone with off-speed pitches. Got our guys off fastball timing, and then came back in the 4th inning and then started throwing the fastballs for strikes, and our guys were off timing. And it was well done, and this gives them something that they can specifically work on with that. You got to maintain fastball timing, even if they're not throwing those fastballs for strikes. And then on the pitching end, it really just gives, I think, as Coach specified a lot, it was falling behind in counts was a big problem for this pitching staff. Got into 2-1 counts, got into 3-2 counts, got into just a lot of situations where you kind of had to throw a fastball in the zone, and when the wind blowing out at 20 miles per hour, it doesn't matter who you are. If you've got a guys who can swing the bat, you get the ball into the air, it was going to go out of the park.
Yep.
And that's what we saw. But we'll move on now for the totality of the week. I think Chris has got some hardware to hand out.
All right. Thanks, Carl. I had a couple of people asking me about what the red belts are. I guess maybe they tuned in last week and maybe for the first time didn't really know what was going on. So just a quick, sorry I couldn't make it last week. Just a quick of what the red belts are. We give out weekly awards, and you could just shout out players if we wanted to, but instead we wanted to come up with an award for an offensive, a defensive, and a pitcher of the week. And we tally them all up at the end of the year, and then they're the award winner. So the red belts, the reason why they're red belts is because back when we started doing this, the guy who ordered a bunch of red belts for the team, I think he might have went to a wholesaler that wasn't the best. And every time a guy slid into second base, the belt would break, and they have to go to another one. So, Roger, we keep you alive on this podcast as a Hoosier. He's always a Hoosier anyway, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But he's out of Mississippi State now. So we collect the red belts for everybody because technically when we started doing this, guys could really use the extra red belt because of the ones that kept breaking. But and we also wanted to nominate players from the past for each category. So offensive, it's the Alec Dickerson Award at the end of the year. For pitching, it's the Joey Donato Award at the end of the year. And for defense, the only player to win a Gold Glove as a Hoosier baseball member, Tony Butler. So those are the three. I give them out, just how it started, and I just keep giving them out. I don't know. If for some reason I can't really watch or listen too much because there's stuff going on, I'll pass it along to somebody who has can get a good listen or view on it. But if I could pretty much make the decisions, they've just happened to be mine. It's just how we've been doing it. So for this week, the defensive red belt, the Tony Butler, is going to go to Josh Pine. The amazing performance he showed on Friday night against Baylor. I mean, it was going to be hard to take it from him after that. He was making every play imaginable. And I was really glad because one of the national writers even put something out after I wrote on the Twitter how good he was doing. I'm glad somebody else is seeing this because it was impressive, whether it was the bare hand, whether it was going foul territory, throwing it over to Brock. Really, one of his most impressive plays, the guy beat out. Brock had to go all the way up. He scooped it, but the guy, he hustled and he beat it out. But the balls that Josh Pine can get to down that foul line is really amazing. And when he comes hard with that bare hand to whip it over to first, he's solid. So Josh gets it. Connor Foley, I mean, a pretty obvious one for the Joey Donato red belt. 6 innings, just the 1 hit, 7 strikeouts. I don't know. Maybe he was mad I didn't give it to him last week. I gave it to Ty. Big game Ty earned it last week. He threw more innings than you, buddy. And he closed out the game. So Ty got one, and now Connor has one. And then the offensive red belt, the Alex Dickerson, goes to Devin Taylor. I got to say, everybody thinks this was like a runaway. Look at Colopy's numbers and tell me that this was an absolute runaway because it wasn't, okay? Colopy's numbers were solid as well. The long balls and a lot of big hits with 2 outs. But yes, Devin Taylor, 7 for 11, 3 bombs, 10 for 15. He hit 667 for the series. He had 3 3-hit games. So, I mean, say what you want. He's the big player of the week, and he's also the red belt winner of the week. So it'll be Connor Foley, Josh Pine, and Devin Taylor taking this week's awards. So we'll see who comes up with them out in Frisco next weekend.
All right. So speaking of Frisco, let's go ahead and discuss the times and how we can how everyone can take in the various games for those of you that won't be in Frisco, Texas, which we will not be in Frisco, Texas. So the games, if I have the times correct, are Eastern time anyway, is 7 p.m. on Friday and then 1 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. And those will be, for video purposes, will be streamed at d1baseball.com. And that requires a streaming service, kind of a package deal. The simplest package overall is to get a 1-month subscription to d1baseball.com plus an add-on streaming subscription. Each of those are $14.99, so it's basically $30 to get the streaming. So what do you get with that? In addition to this tournament, you do get access to the streamings. It's over about a 5-week period, and this is the third of the 5 weeks that have various tournaments going on. We did just confirm you do get replay access, so if you want to go back, if you can't watch it during the time and you want to go back and watch it, you can. There are several other Big Ten teams that have been in tournaments. I've already watched with the service the Iowa-Virginia game from last week, so there's a chances to look at other teams that are going to be competing with IU if you're into that. Plus the D1 baseball subscription, you get all of the national articles that are written. You'll get the previews. Most of the major Big Ten teams have been covered in previews. There have been a lot of stories because Big Ten teams have been in these tournaments, or Big Ten teams have made, there was just an article that covered Penn State in detail because Penn State just went to Stanford and took 2 out of 3 there. That's a program that's on the rise. So there's a lot of good information. My favorite thing on d1baseball.com is the advanced statistics. So you can go to stats. They actually have decent stats without a subscription, but with a subscription, you get a lot of the newer advanced statistics are available. And I use a lot of those when I'm trying to size up quickly. Okay, who's coming out of the pen, and are these guys good based on the advanced statistics that are out there? So again, it's about $30 to get a subscription for the weekend. If you happen to already be a d1baseball.com subscriber, it is just the additional $14.99 for the streaming. Now, if you don't want to shell out $30 for 3 games, there is audio coverage available for free. Since Austin Render is covering the women's basketball game this weekend, it will be Ben Haller will be back at it. He'll be heading back down to Texas. In addition to the ESPN Plus feed from last week on video, I listened. I had, instead of listening to their feed, I listened to Ben Haller all weekend, and I really appreciate the call that he gave and the details he was able to provide. So that is definitely a good way to take it in. In addition, we here at iubase.com will have our new live blog going. And Chris was able to jump in with me on that on Sunday. I did it myself on Saturday. Chris added some on Sunday. We may have more of us involved in the process of live blogging some of the games. But I mean, we're going to have a live blog. I'll definitely do a live blog for most of them. And you'll see a link to that at iubase.com. And you can get to the overall site at apps.iubase.com. But we'll have those links. We'll also push those out on social for what we're covering. Plus, just hashtag iubase on X social. You'll see that there. And I do some in the Indiana baseball fan group that's on Facebook. So those are all different ways that you can follow the action this coming weekend. And of course, we'll also have recaps on the website as well. So multiple ways to follow along. And of course, we will do a larger recap after the whole weekend next week. So let's go ahead and go into some details on who Indiana is going to be facing. So Friday night will be against number 16 Alabama. Chris, what do we know about Alabama?
All right. Alabama is undefeated, 9-0. These guys haven't lost a game the whole year. On fire, okay? They beat Valpo, Manhattan, and UAB. But they won 9 times, though. So they are undefeated. They haven't played anybody, but they're coming in high. And you know, sometimes it's good to play those guys that are undefeated and you give them their first loss of the season. Alabama was 43-21 last year. I bet you didn't know that. They hosted their own regional and won it, and then lost to Wake Forest in the Supers. So that was with an interim coach, because Brad Bohannon was let go for gambling and using inside information to place bets at casinos. I bet you didn't know that. So the whole thing is they did that with an interim coach, and then they didn't want to hire him on full time, so they brought in Rob Vaughn at Maryland, who a lot of us know. So he's the head coach there. We are playing the games at the Frisco College Baseball Classic, like Carl mentioned. It's played at Rough Riders Field, which is a AA park and holds 10,000 people. So there could be some big crowds. You know, they've sold it out before, you know, with other fan bases, but it was more, of course, like SEC fan bases and stuff like that. I mean, maybe there'll be 10,000 people there Friday night, but I don't know if that might be a big number. But it does hold 10,000. And it used to be called Dr. Pepper Park. I guess they decided not to want to pay anymore, so they just call it Rough Riders Field, and they'll go with it from there. And I was checking out Alabama. Their winning streak, 8 home games and 1 away. Their big rivalry with UAB. They did win just recently in the 10th inning. Put up 3 runs. UAB put up another run, but not enough. So Alabama got that 9th win. So they'll be going for 10 in a row, you know, to stay undefeated against us. Now, look at their Fridays. We got Riley Quick. He threw 3 innings and had 5 strikeouts and to give up any runs. Both of their Friday games, they run ruled the other team. So they've never played an 8th or a 9th inning on a Friday. It was 15-0 in Manhattan, and then 14-2 for Valparaiso. So, you know, let's see who they're playing in the competition. Now, interesting enough, we had a young man decommit, Ben Hess, big right-hander out of Illinois. He was actually the #1 ranked prospect at the time. I remember it was a big deal that we had signed him. I remember sending stuff out on Twitter about Ben Hess. He decommitted from us, and you know, he chose Alabama. He pitched the second Friday, 4 innings, 2 runs. You know, they might go to him on Friday. We don't know. There's only been the 2 opportunities. But yeah, he was the #1 prospect in Illinois at the time. He was 133rd in the country at the time, too. Big fella, 6'5", 220, right-handed pitcher. So we might see Ben. He's thrown 8 innings, and he has 14 strikeouts already. I would think he'd kind of want to pitch against us, and might even ask Rob to get out on the mound on Friday at some point, if he's not opening or at some point during the game. I would think we would see him. As far as their hitters, TJ McCants, their 3-hitter, was center fielder. He has 19 RBIs already. This team has played 9 games. So, again, the competition they've played against, but he has 6 bombs also. And he's slugging 1,057 after just 9 games, hitting 400. Then their leadoff guy, Gage Miller, great name, by the way, Gage Miller. He's hitting 457. He scored 17 runs already in 9 games. So, you know, these guys, their numbers are up there, but who they're playing could really affect why it is the way it is. As much as I don't like Maryland, they have been good for a long, long time. And Rob Vaughn was respected in the Big Ten, and I think around everywhere, honestly, in the program that he put together. So I would think Alabama's in good hands. And hey, he hasn't lost yet. So why don't we give him his first loss? All right. So that would be it for that.
All right. Well, on Saturday at 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock Eastern, the Hoosiers will take on number 25 Dallas Baptist. Familiar theme. Dallas Baptist has yet to lose a baseball game this season. They are on a tear. They're 8-0. They will play Arizona on Friday, so we don't know if they will be undefeated when they face the Hoosiers or not. But it will be no doubt this is a really good team. It's a really good program. They've changed conferences, and they are not missing a step. They have midweek wins over Oklahoma and Oklahoma State already. Those are their more marquee wins, in addition to their sweeps against SEMO and Central Michigan. They have averaged, in their last 5 games, 13 runs scored each game. They are obviously undefeated, 2-0 on Saturdays. Their Saturday starter has been consistent for both games, 5 innings each out of Jaron DeBerry. He allowed 2 runs, walking 2 and striking out 6 against Central Michigan last week and earned the win for that. He had a very similar stat line against SEMO. So he's got a whip of 1.6 and he's hit a batter in each of his outings so far. So not absolutely phenomenal numbers, but he's been a very solid starter and has helped his team along to win each of those games. But I think the real thing with Dallas Baptist is that these guys rake. Their star power comes from their catcher, Grant J. He's hitting 317 on the his freshman campaign. He hit 317, and he hit 21 home runs last season. This year he is hitting 419 so far, and he's hit 4 homers, 4 doubles, and he's had 13 RBIs. So he's been very strong so far. They got a couple other guys who are hot in the name of Michael Detallo. He's at 372 so far on this year. And their second baseman, Miguel Santos, he has been hitting 415 on the year. So they've got a lot of hot bats going on, and they just haven't lost a game yet. So this will be a tough competition. Cass, what can you tell us about Sunday in Arizona?
Yeah, so Arizona is kind of the odd one out at Frisco this year in that they are not currently ranked. They are 4-3 on the year. Although they are currently playing number 5 TCU. They are down 3-0 at the moment at the bottom of the 5th. But they also haven't played the lightest of schedules either. They won 2 of 3 from then number 23 Northeastern, who has since dropped out of the rankings. They won versus Utah Tech in a big midweek way. And then they lost 2 of 3 at San Diego this last weekend. A few key position players. I had been so excited to say, hey, look, they have their own guy who's hitting 500 still this far into the season in Garen I can't say his name right now. Caulfield, their second baseman, who coming into the current game was hitting 500, but an 0 for 2 so far on the night has him down to 464. He doesn't have a ton of power, so to speak, but he does not strike out a lot. He's going to make contact far, far more often than not. They have another couple of guys with pretty high averages. Left fielder Brendan Summerhill at 438, and oddly enough, 9-hole hitter Richie Morales, the third baseman, who is hitting 348 so far. Well, those were the previous. Morales is still hitting 348. Summerhill is down to 412. Neither one of those are super big power guys. Summerhill will knock a few doubles, but not huge power. They're big power guys. Sophomore Mason White, who's the shortstop, he's switched from second base over to shortstop, so he's had some issues in the field so far this season, but at the plate, he's currently at a 290 average, was 310 coming into the day, with 3 home runs. And then Emilio Corona, the right fielder, also has 3 home runs. As a team, Arizona is hitting 324, and about 35% of their hits are going for extra bases. So these guys are no slouch at the plate at all. So that'll be something to keep an eye on Sunday. As for pitching, there's maybe a little question mark here, as Arizona has started the same guy on both Sundays that they've played. Anthony Tonko, I'm not sure if it's Susak or Sussex. He has started both Sundays. He's got a 12.46 ERA in about the weirdest way possible. Gave up no earned runs to Northeastern in 4 innings of work, and gave up 6 earned runs to San Diego in a third of an inning.
Ooh.
So,
damn.
Yeah, it's a little wonky. Could be there was just something going on that led to those earned runs in such a short amount of time. Could be they want to put someone else in there. Not sure on that. If they do put someone else in there, odds are it'll be Cam Walty, who's a senior. He has followed up Susak, both Sundays. What?
Kaiser Sozig.
But Walty has followed him up both times. Gave up 2 earned runs against Northeastern in 3 innings of work, and gave up no earned runs versus San Diego in 5 2/3. So he's sitting at a 2.08 ERA, and is among the best of the pitchers who qualify statistically so far in the short season. He only has a 243 batting average against, so that will be something to watch for those Hoosier bats. This guy does not give up a lot, and he strikes out more batters than he walks. So big thing to keep an eye on. Total, this pitching staff has only given up 5 home runs on the year, so that will also be something to watch for an offensive team that is fairly home run heavy for IU. If this Arizona team isn't going to give them up. And so that's
they
the
give
week.
5 the whole year?
Yeah, so far I don't think any of them today have been home runs.
Wow.
But yeah, 5, they've only given up 5 home runs on the year, not counting the active game against TCU.
Right. No, I'm just thinking I saw 5 Boston down home runs yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
One game.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, so might need to look a little bit more toward some amount of small ball if they're going to be throwing like that. So that's this weekend. Carl, what do you have on Northern Kentucky in the midweek?
All right. Well, as they try to say, they want us to fear the Norse of Northern Kentucky. I look at 2-6 out of the Horizon League, and normally I would say not a big deal, but the Mastodons are currently 2-6 out of the Horizon League, so let's keep that in perspective. Different than the Mastodons, though. The Norse have actually won a series on the road. They opened the season taking 2 of 3 from Tennessee Martin. In the 2 games that they won, they held Tennessee Martin to 4 and 2 runs. But that is really all the success they've had in their pitching. In all of their 6 games, they have given up at least 7 runs in each of those. And they've given up, let's see here, double-digit runs in 3 games. So they've been struggling a little bit with run prevention. So statistically speaking, they are scoring runs, though. They're getting guys on base and hitting with power. So these guys have hit a lot of home runs. Let me see if they've got 2 guys with 4 home runs. Mitch Wood and Liam McFadden Ackman each have 4 home runs. They have 5 guys with an over 1,000 OPS so far. Conversely, though, if I go to advanced pitching,
I do fear the North.
Yeah.
5 of them?
Yes, they have 6 pitchers, though, who have an OPS against of more than 1,000. So that's
evens it out a little bit, I guess.
Yes, and really they really only have one guy who's pitching well. It looks like this is a freshman reliever, Ryan Pearson, 2.16 ERA, 4 appearances so far. He's thrown 8.1 innings and given up only 2 earned runs while striking out 6. So I somehow imagine he's going to be the starting pitcher and he's going to go 4. So the Hoosiers need to be ready. The Hoosiers need to be ready for this dude. So I have no idea if that's who they're going to throw or not, but you know, could be, especially if he's a freshman. You know, you with a lot of these teams, they want to get a freshman, and sometimes it's a big game. They're going to be playing a game against a ranked team, and especially seeing what the fellow Horizon League team did, they may be getting themselves up for this one. So they can swing the bat, and they have at least one guy, okay, maybe only one guy that's successful so far in pitching. And that will be at the Bart Tuesday at 4 p.m. And as usual, that'll be on B1G Plus for video coverage, and there will be audio coverage as well. And given the timing, I assume that would be Austin Render. I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure Austin Render should have the radio call for that one. All right, well, we've done red belts. We've taken a look at our preview on the for the coming week. We do have some questions that came into the mailbag, so we're going to go ahead and answer those. Let me see here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and toss out one of these questions to the group now. These questions that at least the ones that I saw here, were all asked before the Fort Wayne game. And the first one's kind of applicable to it. Will the bullpen get enough experience to support the guys who pitch on the weekend? Cass, what do you want to say about that?
I'd say right now, yes, long-term postseason, like the goal of the regular season is to prepare for the postseason. And that's exactly what's going on right now. You have to figure, particularly with a pitching staff that did come in with a lot of question marks, you are trying to figure out in the early season what roles best fit which pitchers. And as you're figuring that out, you might get some bumps along the way as, oh, nope, that was not the correct spot. That was not the correct role. Okay, let's tweak, let's try this next. And so there are some bumps and bruises early in the season. There always are, particularly midweek. And kind of later into weekend series as pitching depth starts to get a little shaky. I think, yes, long term with the goal of ready for postseason, absolutely. I think it'll be ready.
Yep. And you got to keep in mind that a situation like yesterday's game, was a lot of it is about they're trying to get all of these guys experience against real offenses. Yep. And unfortunately, there's really no true way to do that. I mean, there's only so much of throwing to your own team that you can do with that. There's got to be, you got to go face somebody in a different jersey. So they've got to throw them out there and get that experience. And that's part of what these midweeks are for. And to Chris's point, we had a couple of good outings out of guys.
Yeah.
And as, for example, as Seth Bennis gets worked up, I know he's not a bullpen guy, but as he gets worked up, his opens are gonna get longer and longer, and may even go all the way into being starts. And then once they figure out, who can consistently perform, and they're not going to give up on the guys who struggled a little bit yesterday. They're going to get other opportunities. They're going to get a chance to evaluate the performance and see what can they do to stay out of those 2-1 and 3-2 counts, and try to improve, and then figure out who's going to be best for, as Cass said, that long haul. Second question is, been hearing a lot about Devin Taylor lately, And the question is, because there was a question, is like, well, is Devin Taylor draft eligible this year, and will this be his last year in college? Chris, what can you say on that?
Well, no, I mean, for those who don't know the setup with college ball, once you sign to play, it's 3 years unless your birthday turns you 21 at the time of the draft, which Devon's won't. So
Well,
At the end
it's
of the
within certain
signing.
days of the draft.
Yeah,
so.
by the end of the signing period.
but Devin is not within that range from what I understand. And so no, he would have a third year of college eligibility. Where he plays it would be up to him. And just like with all the new rules and transfers and NLIs and everything else, he would still have another year of eligibility to use after this year. He couldn't be drafted by Major League Baseball. I think you see him very high on boards next year. We're here in top of the first round. I mean, the kid's special, man. He's special. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't walk around up like, one of those guys who just walk above everybody else. I mean, I see him goofing around on the hill on the side at Conway. I even said it to what was it, Aaron Phil? Oh, look, there's an MLB draft pick goofing around like a little kid, just having fun. Because he was.
Yeah.
And he was goofing with Wiggins. I believe I said there's 2 picks because you figure Wiggins later on too. Who knows? But no, Devin cannot be drafted by Major League Baseball following this season. He will have 1 more year left of college eligibility. He can play that where he chooses.
Well, 2 years of college eligibility, 1 that he has to use.
Oh, right. But he's not playing a 4th anywhere.
Right.
So
Yeah, no.
he will play 3
Right.
years of college ball, and then he will be drafted by the Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Yes.
And where he plays that 3rd year is absolutely up to him and his family and decisions that he'll make then. But yes, he'll have another year to play, and it's a pleasure to watch him. And he's a special young man. And we go back to the interviews we had of him from that school. I had the glasses on. He was in that classroom when we interviewed. I wasn't interviewing, you guys were. I remember I watched it. But I think even then we knew he was just like a good down-to-earth kid. Parents raised him right, all that good stuff. And just to see the way he performs on that field is no joke. He's super polished with the media. He knows what he's doing. And he's going to be a special guy. We're going to watch him for years to come, like we do our Pro Bowl Hoosiers now.
And on that same note, though, there was a point that has been thrown out lately, though, that just to make a point of clarification, and that is that as he's doing so well, Connor Foley, while only a sophomore because of his birthday, is draft eligible this year. So Connor Foley is eligible for the MLB draft. And given what he's done so far, if he continues along those tracks, he is getting MLB draft interest. So that's someone as a sophomore to be looking at, as well as the juniors that are obviously draft eligible. Most notably in that group are Connor Matheson, Brock Tibbetts, Josh Pine, and Luke Sennard are the juniors that are most touted at this point in the process.
I'm glad you brought up Luke, Carl. I didn't know if you were gonna. Luke is absolutely going to get drafted. It will be his decision whether he goes to play or returns to play another year of college ball. But imagine him on this squad. Imagine if all weekend was Luke, Braden, and Connor.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope his recovery is going well. He's another good guy, and I know it killed him last year to go down in that regional, but having him all season last year was amazing, man. And just having Braden and Connor, going with Cass's answer, with the bullpen, and are they going to have enough time to get ready? Honestly, I think we've gotten more out of Ty and Connor than I ever thought we would at this point in the season. I know we were hearing Connor was getting lengthened out, but until you see it on the field, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Especially Connor doesn't have a lot of innings in that arm, going even back to high school. Braden's a horse. We knew what Braden was.
Yeah.
I locked him in for 6 innings. But after that, we really didn't know. And to have Connor and Ty just locking down the Saturdays and whatever happens Sunday, there's just none of – what do you say, Carl? There's 27 innings you got to get, right?
Yep.
27 innings you got to get. I see you say it a lot. And it makes a lot of sense. Every time you say it, I want to correct you. It's 27 outs, right? But I know what you mean. You're saying 27 innings for the series, for the weekend.
Yeah.
And the question, the man who wrote the question, he's got a good point. Like, when are these other arms going to get a shot? Are they going to be ready? Because if you're going to win a regional, or if you're going to win a Big Ten tournament title or advance to the Supers, maybe not so much in the Supers because you only got to win 2 games, but you're going to win a region, you got to have more than a couple of starters. How many teams just roll right through, right, and win 3 games? It doesn't happen that much. Look at us. We were 2-0 and we didn't get out. So you got to have arms. I think Cass, I agree with Cass, you know, they're going to have time to prepare. We're going to start seeing, Cass mentioned roles. We're going to start seeing situations they start putting dudes in, right? If a dude comes in and we're up 7-2 in the 8th inning, you kind of know where he is on the pecking order. And then if a guy comes in the 8th up 2, he's in a different role.
Or the guy who comes in bases loaded and fewer than 2 outs.
Right. Well,
Like,
Cass, yes, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it could be that's his role. That's where he thrives. Starting off an inning, maybe not so much.
Right.
But in that high pressure thing, maybe that's his role. And honestly, as far as preparing for postseason, the baseball at the beach and the Frisco Classic are great practice runs for it, because you cannot prep as in depth on one team for the weekend because you're playing 3 different teams. That is so regional like, and that helps having that experience.
And who knows, we may even see different bullpen deployment this coming weekend based on how you know, possibly, let's say Ty actually might match up better with Alabama. Yeah. It's possible you'll see Ty first against Alabama. I'm not saying, I'm just throwing that out there. I haven't really dug into how they, you know, but I'm just throwing that out there as a brainstorm. But I'm just saying I wouldn't be shocked to see a different deployment of the relievers on different days due to how their pitching profiles match up with particular teams.
Well, whatever the matchup is, if we're doing 2 pitchers a game, I'm in.
Yes. The final question was about the RPI. The RPI rankings, and that at the time the question was, despite how good Indiana is and being ranked by the media at 20, they're only ranked at 45. Since the loss to the Mastodons, Indiana has dropped to 78th in the RPI.
I see him at 87 live.
Okay, well, I'm at Warren Nolan, so.
Oh, so am I.
Okay. Something changed in the
Big
last
drop.
10 minutes. Who lost? Somebody must have lost.
I have no idea.
Let's see. I guess Baylor lost again.
A drop of 42 spots is not great. Drop of 32 spots is also not great. Either way.
So it's 87 now. That has only happened in the last hour. Yes. But that goes to show you what happens to RPI this early in the season. Don't worry about it. Don't look at it. It's RPI is a very basic formula. It does tell you something over the course of a season, but this is the more important thing. Remember that RPI is a performance metric. It is not an evaluation metric. It doesn't tell you how good a team is. It tells you how well they performed. And I know that doesn't necessarily sound like a distinction, but what I mean on that is you're trying to go for a result, and that result is based over the course of the full season. And a team's schedule for that purpose, you try to win games, you try to win games on the road, you schedule games on the road, you schedule games against teams you think are going to win games. But in the end, the only things that are included in it is your record, the record of your opponents, and the record of your opponent's opponents. That's it. And this early in the season, the various scheduling methods that teams play are going to wreak havoc on these rankings. And you're going to see, oddball things.
St. John's still number 1?
Nope. Virginia's number 1 now, and they're, at this point, you get the point where you get generally good teams mostly at the top. But for example, you have Notre Dame at number 4. I can assure you Notre Dame is not anywhere near the top of the heap in this.
Hofstra
St. John's
at
from
8.
Queens, New York was number 1 today at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hofstra at 8 with a 2-4 record.
Yeah.
Nice. 2 New York schools, top 10.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll see this too, that a bunch of teams with losing records are at the top because of the way that the strength of schedule is weighted, and all of that goes away. I mean, within a few weeks, all of that will go away to where your top 50 will all be teams with winning records. But then you'll get the power teams will start playing each other with good records, and that'll start snowballing. So basically teams that have really good records now, or teams that are playing teams that have really good records, are who's showing up at the top. And this will, work itself out. Yes. Losing yesterday was not great, but a 6-2 record at this point is better than I had originally predicted. And even with a prediction of Indiana doing well enough to get into a regional, this is farther along than they'd expected. And by getting into a regional, I'm saying a top 40 RPI. So I have Indiana with easily a top 40 RPI at this point in the season. We'll see, how that progresses based on how their opponents do. Let's take a look here. Early in the season, so for example, coming up, Indiana's got a 3-game series. Well, I mean, this weekend is 9-0, 8-0, 4-3. So that's going to be huge to add to the opponent's records. You've got 9-1 Troy coming to Bloomington, March 8th, 9th, and 10th. There's a trip to Vanderbilt at 7-3. You've got Belmont at 6-3. They're coming to the Bart. This is really promising. Butler is at 3-3 so far this year. That was the one that was really scaring me. That I think may actually be a big shot of improvement. Maryland seems to be holding themselves even with the loss of Rob Vaughn. Penn State is on the upswing, big time. Rutgers is playing really solid. Purdue is doing their typical playing pretty well in the non-con, but that helps. Oh my goodness, Louisville. They're on a tear now. They're at 500.
Ooh.
Maybe
I think Baylor's going to be the problem.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Baylor is the real problem on the schedule.
And I'm thinking that I think I found the 10-spot drop in the last, I guess now 15 minutes. They lost to number 255 Abilene Christian.
Yep.
That'd do it.
Although Abilene Christian's a 7-3 record, so
they are.
The opponent actually was somewhat helped by that. It's just that's basically one game, that's 3 losses. Now, again, stretch out over the course of it. Butler's a bigger deal because it's 4 games.
Yeah,
that's the real reason why Butler is so big, is because it's a 4-game thing. But the rankings itself, honestly, don't look at them at least until the middle of March, and even then, it is really grain of salt. And part of the reason that I think about this is that I'm always trying to project what is this going to look like on Memorial Day, because that's the only day it counts. is Selection Monday. That's the day that it really counts as to whether the team gets into the tournament, whether the team gets a 2 seed, whether the team gets to host. All those questions are in a large part answered by the RPI, but it's going to take a while to really determine where that's going to be. So I think we've actually covered quite a bit of ground today. Do we have any final thoughts, or are we ready to wrap this up and prepare for baseball in Frisco?
Guys,
I'm definitely looking forward to the pitching then. We haven't seen pitching like we have since Duke.
Yeah.
These arms are going to be better, and they're going to be different. They're going to be coming from all different angles. There's a ton of arms in this Frisco Classic. So, I mean, that was opening day, when we faced Duke. And since then, I would think most of these arms are better than ones we faced all along. So to really see how they attack these guys, how, these aren't going to be 8-7 games, I don't think. I think we're looking at, first to 4 could win each game. And it's just it's just a big time challenge facing all these arms, and especially after what just happened up against Purdue Fort Wayne. Hopefully that one can get washed and rinsed and just start over. But that's the big thing for me, is how they faced against these arms in clutch situations and what they can make happen. You know, let's get to that's pretty much what I'm thinking.
Yep. And to me, it's sky's not falling. Like it, one game midweek. Do not put too much thought or concern into it. Every team is going to lose to somebody they shouldn't. It is, with the number of games played in baseball, it is almost impossible to not lose to somebody you shouldn't. Look at Clemson getting just walloped by Kennesaw State earlier this year. Like, it happens. It's always going to happen, and it's good to get it out of the way early.
Yep. And I think that was one of those things that was so crazy about how good this Indiana team was last year, was that they somehow managed to avoid it. And I think it's one of the reasons why it stings so much, is that we haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
They managed to just not, they came close a few times, but they always seem to pull it out. And the point is, at some point, that was going to catch up to them. So,
and especially midweek.
Yeah, and again, to Chris's point, Indiana didn't play that bad yesterday.
Yeah.
Fort Wayne was just better.
Oh, they took it.
And for a game, and for any game, a team can step up and be good. So,
Yep.
These are all Division I athletes. This is that quality is there. Yep. So again, I think we're all looking forward to it. We're looking, and again, this is another opportunity that this team has in front of a lot of national eyes. These tournament events draw the national media. And I'm pretty sure, D1's obviously broadcasting it. I know they've got people there, so it's going to be a big deal, and we're very much looking forward to it. So thank you for listening to this edition of Talking Hoosier Baseball. For more on Indiana University baseball, hit up iubase.com. For Chris Feeney and Cassidy Palmer, I'm Carl James. See you at the Bart.